what he says about your circumstance. It can't stay. It has to immediately go out. Now, in the beginning, that felt like a full-time job. And it got down to a part-time job. And depending on the day, it's on call. But doing this, taking control of those thoughts, change your story. So briefly, I will share a few of the topics we go over in the workshop. One of them is how the truth will set us free. But just as important, what is your truth? Oh, just as important for this exercise alone, what is your truth? Because our actions stem from our beliefs. For example, if you want to quit something, but a part of you thinks it's helping you, you're still going to do it. So we unravel all of the cognitive dissonance that's going on inside us. We dig deep into our backstory, and we have to understand how the backstory is affecting our God story. We have to identify those whys, because until we know why we do what we do, even if we stop a behavior, that why will find another area of our life to rule and reign in. And this is another technique that I use every day on my whys. Like if I'm going to have a business meeting and I'm going to make a phone call, I ask myself, okay, now why am I saying this? It really shows your motives and where your heart is, and it helps you adapt to certain things and maybe change the way you're going to say things, which is really also important every single day of life. Let's see, week 3 is about rewiring our brain and taking those thoughts captive. And, thoughts stem from different places in our brain. Dr. Kirstin Leigh, she can explain it a lot better than me. But I look at it as we have some thoughts that are based on actions. This thought is driving us crazy. It won't stop spinning like a movie that we never wanted to see. Sound familiar? Yeah. Well, it's based on something we just did. That would be what I call an action thought. And then there are the what ifs, the memories, the regrets. I lived in those so long they almost killed me. And then there are the thought lies, things that you have believed your entire life about yourself that aren't true. These usually come from our family, our friends, people that we grew up with. Pretty much everybody that I've known, myself included, the way our brain works, the things we have going on in our head, it started when we were a child. So we have to deal with all that. So we take each thought through the serenity prayer. Is this something we can change? If not, how do we let go? What are the steps that need to be taken to move forward? We get to the root of each of those thoughts, because then there is no thought like that. The root is gone. We instantly replace it with what God said about us. Which brings me to week 4, speaking life. The Bible says that life and death are in the power of the tongue. Now, I used to think that meant like life as we live it or death. It's so much more. Think about the life of a dream, the life of a relationship, the life of giving you hope, and think about the depth of that. We have to pay attention to what we are saying internally and externally about ourselves, the people in our life, everything. And, we all have stuff, health issues, problems, etc. So it's not about denying the reality of that. It's about speaking life into it. For example, even like my prayer life, my prayers used to be, God, I'm so depressed. God, I'm so messed up. God, I'm never going to get this right, etc., etc. God, I'm so lonely. I was praying in the problem. Now, if I start to feel that way, if I start feeling depression coming on, first I'll stop and not try to distract myself like in the past. And I'll say, okay, God, why am I feeling this way? Is there anything I've done to contribute to this feeling? Then I'll ask forgiveness. And if it's not, I will start saying, thank you, God, that depression is far from me. Thank you, it cannot get near me. Thank you for filling me with joy. Thank you for bringing me new friends. Thank you for giving me hope. You get it. The Bible says to call those things forth that aren't as though they are. And when it comes to changing our story, it is exactly what we have to do. I want to encourage you this week to really watch what you're saying. Those habitual things that we just say all the time, but we don't think about them, or those popular sayings. Like I used to say, "Oh, watch me fall head first." I don't say those things anymore. So really, life and death are in the power of the tongue. So speaking life, it speaks life into us. Forgiveness, big topic. It's a process. There are so many times where I thought I forgave someone, and I did, to the level that I was whole. But the more we grow, the more we evolve, there'll be another layer of forgiveness that we need to peel off. Forgiveness is freedom. Next is spiritual warfare. Spiritual warfare, understanding the role it plays in breaking free from strongholds, is a game changer. Everything we do, everything we say, either opens the door for God to work in our life or the enemy. So think about that this week. Ask yourself, is what I'm doing, what doors am I opening? Because we want to slam those doors shut that the enemy wants to get in. That time of our life is over. This is a time for a new beginning. The tools you are getting right now are beyond valuable. They are key. I mean, God is working things out for your good right now, where you're at, because you're getting tools that most people have to go to school forever to get, or they actually never do get. One thing, I would not wish what I went through on anyone. I wish that I hadn't gone through it. But I am glad that things were so bad that I had to dig deep to get to every issue. Because if not, sometimes, I said that busyness is addiction all dressed up. We can just go through life being successful, yet there's that stuff that's always keeping us from living at our highest potential. And that is not what changing our story is about. That's not what being free is about. I've already mentioned how I teach some acting formulas to help you, break free from things. And purpose. Purpose is the key to breakthrough. It is why we're here. There is no one but you who has the purpose that God has given you. And it's never just about us, ever. It's always bigger than us. And there's a million, great books about, finding your purpose. But really, our purpose is inside us. It's just buried underneath all the junk. So the more we pull out the junk, the more we get rid of the stuff, the more you will discover the purpose. And once we grasp onto that purpose that God gave us, everything else, it just has to go. Purpose is that strong. Now, there is a moment in every good book, in every good movie, that as writers, we call it the all is lost moment. It's usually around Act 3. It's that moment when the fate of your favorite character is in the air. Think of that mountaintop. They're standing on that cliff. Everything they have been through, everything they've gone through has brought them to that moment. But it's what they do next that determines the rest of the movie. We all have a third act moment. Everything we've been through has brought us here. Every word that's been spoken to you, all the ones that weren't, the things you've been through, the dreams you've pursued, the ones you've lost, the people that you've held on to, the ones you let go of. Every single thing you've done has brought you to this moment. But it's the decision you make after this and the one you make after that that'll determine the rest of your story. We have to choose to say, this is not the way my story is going to end. And I know you said that because of where you are right now. You have to choose to say, I will not be my parents. I will not be a statistic. I will not let where I am determine who I am. I am bigger than this. The God in me has strength beyond my imagination. We have to choose to say, I am not going to be the victim anymore. I'm not going to be the villain of my own story. I'm done self-sabotaging. With God and a lot of work, we can change our story. We can get our life on track with His plan. But you have to believe it, and you have to fight for it. See, it should be enough that God gave me that dream, reminding me of who I was. But I had to align my vision with God's. And that took undoing everything that life had taught me, that I had done. And it does take work. I've shared some of the really